everybody. It's a pleasure to have you all with us today. This is a webinar on the German language cluster, which we think is going to hit a phase of transformation in the years ahead. We will hear a lot more about this by our speakers, who will be foremost Konstantin Dranch, who recently did a study, or co-authored at the very least, and coordinated a study on the German language market. Arthur Wetzel, who is an industry expert, who's been active in the field for quite some time. Britta Augard, who's director at Semantics, who's also been in the industry for many years. And myself, Philippe Wakars, director at LT Innovate, the Association of the Language Technology Industry. The way we will proceed is that we will first of all have a presentation by Konstantin, followed by, we will have, an introduction first of all by Arthur, of course, then we will have the presentation by Konstantin, and Britta will give her input and probably raise some questions as well. All this will be followed by a moderated discussion, which I will be moderating. So we encourage everybody to participate in this discussion. And in order to facilitate this, we encourage you, as we go, to use the chat function of our platform. So please submit your questions via the chat functions. More generally, if you have any comments, any remarks about the quality, the content of the webinar, or whatever you would like to send to us, please do not hesitate to do so. It is always very useful to have feedback. You have here on the screen now the address at which you can reach us. So that is for my short introduction. I'm now passing the floor to Arthur, who will properly introduce the webinar.
Thank you very much, Philip. I'm trying again to now. Good. I think you see that one. Okay. Yes. First of all, thank you very much, Philip, the executive director of the LTI, who makes it all happen. And I also want to, say hello to my colleagues, Britta, Chief Business Officer at Semantics, probably one of the smartest persons in the industry that I know, and the best researcher that we have in the field, at least for Central Europe and Germany, is Konstantin. Thank you very much for being here. And also, I also have to thank the QSD who did that amazing job to make really a comprehensive study on the German language market, which has certain problems, or let's say has certain potentials, and we will see that later. I want to give you, first of all, a little idea about what Germany is. I mean, everybody knows that it's, on the one hand, maybe a little behind. On the one hand, it's a strong economy, and I just want to give you some recent facts about that. Okay, Germany is ranking number 4. It's the 4th biggest economy in the world, with a GDP around 3.4 trillion, and a steady growth on 2% more or less every year. And we are talking here about the times before COVID. So of course we have the pandemic. We all know that we are in the middle of it, but we are still surviving that. We have a relatively low unemployment rate of the 44 million people working population, which is 60%. And of course, and we see that on the right side, we have a lot of brands which are very, very world brands, and of course for that we are a big export nation with 1.2 trillion euros per year. To where do we export? We export, of course, a lot to the USA, 106 trillion billion. We are exporting to the France also around 100, and to Britain around 80, and also around 80 to the Netherlands. Who would have expected that? So this is where the so-called fame of the big export nation Germany comes from. Of course, and I don't have to emphasize that, but of course all those brands and also the SMEs that we are looking onto right now or into right now are global actors. They communicate internationally, and therefore they have a daily use of multi-language needs, and do that quite good as far as I can see. Okay, which makes Germany a little special. Germany is the home of the SMEs, small and medium-sized business, run the show in Germany. Around 99% of all enterprises are SMEs. Taking out the small ones, we have 3.5 million of medium-sized companies, which are of course a main interest to work for as a language solution provider. And defining the SMEs is around 10 to 500 FTEs that work for a medium-sized company, and 2 to 50 million in revenue. Nearly 50% of all employees work for SMEs, and what strikes me even more is that 70% of the professional apprentices in Germany work for an SME. Also, you have to see that the SMEs have a high innovation potential. There is a little tale or a narrative that comes from the Germans themselves, that they feel that they are digitally behind, and it might be true because it's a large economy. We have many people to connect, etc. But if we look at the digitalization index that has been published in November 2020, so this is quite recent data. We see that this index develops quite good. The trend is going up, is gearing up also, of course, because of 2020 being a COVID year where people had to be enabled to work digitally, etc. So who wonders that the main focuses were in relationship with customers, so virtualizing that or digitalizing that, the productivity of the company, processes that need to be digitalized, and who wonders that digital business models themselves, where people now finally thought about, okay, I think we should do a little more for the whole business model, or in disrupting ourselves traditions, and leaving that a little bit, so leaving the comfort zone and do something new. But this was of course forced by the pandemic. And if we see one of the last things that I want to talk about, those companies that already run on digital basis, or call themselves digital leaders, they had less problems to really cope with the pandemic, and this is of course a good sign, because this will happen from time to time again. Now, I'm near to hand it over now to Konstantin and take it from here. There are three main questions that I had when we were preparing this presentation. One is about, are LSPs getting digitized, really digitized? Are they also moving into new business models, or are they only, digitalizing their processes? The thing that followed, the next question that followed that one is innovation. Are LSPs really innovative, or is it only about a buzzword called MT, and we are doing some MT here and there, or do we really incorporate it into our business model, or do we do something around it? Are we really innovative? Of course, we know several names in Germany that are innovative, like DeepL, etc., etc. But what is behind that? Is it only a cloud, or is it real? And the third one, we have a very, very fragmented market in Germany, talking about language solutions. Will that be consolidated? Yes, maybe someday. Who will consolidate it? Will it be the market itself? Will it be somebody from outside, or will it at least be one of the maybe also one of the big names from the US or something who will consolidate the market for us? So having asked those questions, I want to hand it over to Konstantin. Konstantin, please take it from here.
Voila. Thank you very much, Philip. I couldn't unmute myself. No rights. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here and following up with the study. I'll just go into very few details. I hope you can see my screen. WebEx is not my go-to application. You can see my screen, right?
Not yet.
For the moment,
we see you.
Oh, it's not so bad. You can also look at me for a while.
Yeah.
Right. You should be able to see my screen now.
yes.
So the results of the study are all available. It's a gift to the industry. Throughout my career, I've made many studies like this, starting from Russia, Ukraine, then United Kingdom, France, Finland, United States, Baltics, and Portugal, I think. And also a little bit of global studies with NIMSI, and we even went to China at some point. So this German study was a very nice way to round it up, and I was very excited to do it. So you can download the results of the study here. You go to qsd.de, you press Mark Study, you leave your beautiful email here, and you get the full study to your computer to enjoy it. It has some KPIs, more details. Because we have many movers and shakers in the room, I'll just concentrate on the most important parts without going into individual company details, but you can do it. So here is the study. I'll just go through some of the most important slides. This is the QSD, the lovely association in Germany, comprised of very nice people. Some of these associations, like the ATC in France, have become hotbeds for acquisitions. Maybe that's the future of QSD as well. The important stuff. First, Germany is the biggest market in Europe. And if you take the DACH region, including Switzerland, including Austria, that's twice the size of the next region, like the Nordics or the French-speaking countries. It's definitely the best, the biggest opportunity out there, 19% of the European turnover of LSPs. And these are hard figures from Eurostat. You also have access to Eurostat. You go to Eurostat, you search for companies under the activity code translation, and you get all those figures, right? So Germany makes 19% of that. Very significant market, and one of the top top three in the world for language services. A lot of that is from the industry, and this is a sample of about 160 million. The industry means all kinds of manufacturing companies making industrial products, but the usual verticals are present there, such as life sciences, meaning medical devices. Automotive is a big part, some software now, marketing, financial, legal. All the traditional regulated verticals are present in Germany. Maybe it doesn't have such a huge public sector ratio proportion like Britta, you're in Sweden. You know how much public sector generates in Sweden and in the Nordics. In Germany, it's the private sector that is playing the lead tune. Right. So over the last years, this has been growing, creating more jobs. The average percent was 7.1 a year, so a little bit faster than the global. And what was interesting was that, sorry, I'm maybe moving too fast, that the growth of sales happened even faster than the growth in the number of providers. In most other countries around Europe, when you look at the number of new companies being generated in different size categories, typically the sector for the small company is seeing less and less opportunity per company. So the sales are growing, but the number of providers, the number of hands is growing faster. Not in Germany. In Germany, sales grow even faster than the number of people who want to take a piece of the pie. Despite this situation, not all companies that wanted to create a stronghold in the German market were successful. Quite the contrary, very few, because the market is very traditional. You have companies that served clients for 2 or 3 generations. I have a slide later on about this. Not so easy without having the German presence, the German company in the mix, a German sales force. So people who underinvested, they didn't make a connection with the German market. We have some results here on the growth in the Corona year, and the results were that the small businesses were hit much harder than the big ones. And despite this compression of the interpreting space, despite all the trouble, some companies even made it to the green sector, to growth, primarily those dealing with life sciences, medical devices, and software. These sectors were more resilient, and so those who had to translate a lot for COVID, PCR testing equipment, manuals, and whatever, they even made it to the green, and the overall, because of this lesser impact on bigger companies, were projected in the middle of the year at -6%. Of course, this study is already dated 5-6 months, and things have moved on. As you've seen, in January, we already have huge deals announced. Phrase just went to Memsource. Cross has been acquired by investment group, and there are talks that Lengu, the German company which specializes in post editing and machine translation, has multiplied the revenue 6 times. So things are moving on. This study represents a snapshot. Just wanted to demonstrate huge opportunity, interesting, but very, very fragmented. So I'll move on to the LSPs, and we made this map here, splitting them up by categories: top gross and national players who still German hands, MLVs which are coming from other countries into Germany. Then we defined the Mittelstand, companies under 8 million but over 1 million, and then underneath them lots and lots of freelancers. And in Germany, a freelancer can win a €1 million contract from a city administration, no problem. So land of opportunity indeed. So what's going to happen with those is, sorry, I'm probably skipping ahead. These companies will want to grow to 30 to 50 million, at which stage they can sell at very high multiple. At 8 million, 10 million, 15 million, where many of these companies are, the multiple is not yet very attractive. And these companies have been built by people of the previous generation, based on the linguistic expertise, being able to provide the best quality translations, a very comfortable relationship, and now they realize that the next generation wants something different, technology in the mix. So all of them invest in language technology in hopes that that will help them become more valuable. Some companies remain lifestyle companies, so people don't want to exit. Maybe they'll give the control to their children. Some companies are actively seeking a good deal for themselves, a good exit. So because of this fragmentation, because of the number of companies with a good portfolio remaining on the market, I believe that the changes are coming. if you look at the Scandinavian market, if you look at the French market, where private equity, the financial guys have donated, I don't know how else to say, given a lot of money to the top companies, then these top companies quickly gobbled up the rest of the market. Especially if you look at France, everything that was middle-sized was acquired. Right, hardly 2 or 3 companies remain in the 10 million range in France. Maybe more, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but the growth of the top companies like Accolade, like Ubicus, like DataWords was accelerated by acquisitions so much that they completely overshadowed everyone else. Half of the market is the big companies, half of the market is the big field completely fragmented of small companies, and the middle is so thin, it's like a waste of the Little Mermaid in a Disney cartoon. In Scandinavia, it represents one of the biggest providers, and the cohort of middle companies are it kind of disappeared. It's not as strong anymore. It doesn't represent a big part of the market. So again, if you look at the figure, big companies make a lot of revenue on top, then you have a narrow waist, and then a larger bottom. Apologies for this comparison. No, in Germany, not yet. We still have the pyramid, and this is one of the last remaining strongholds, one of the last markets which can boast this, which is say we have a lot of business in our national hands, owned by local entrepreneurs, and we still have the Mittelstand. So people are going to attack this Mittelstand like crazy, I think. Right. So this is an example of how companies are getting handled down generation to generation. Einzelner Zeitgeist has been in one family for 3 generations, MPU 2 generations. So very, very inspiring stories. In the study, then, we have some insight into the top players. Please look at this on your own. We have like quick portraits of companies, a little Facebook of German beau monde for the language industry. And as you can see, many people owning and running the companies are senior. Some of them are already backed by financial investors like W&W, T-Works, Transline, others are not, but perhaps they will be. Right, and here is the new generation. We have Homan with us today. Homan, I hope you're listening to this. One of the challengers to the market, and Lengu, that company that has grown in the last years, using post-editing as the vessel to sail to more business. So companies that combine linguistic and technological expertise to be from the old establishment. We have a little bit of the German language cluster, which is important. Now it's changing hands, changing shape very quickly. And one important thing and one surprising thing that I noticed in the course of this study is the investment that LSPs are making into technology. Many of them are hiring developers like crazy and putting a lot of effort into developing very redundant technology. Redundant in a way that it duplicates, right? Everyone wants a customer portal, everyone wants a review tool, a terminology management tool, a connectivity portal, an API so that their clients can connect to them using whatever system. And so instead of buying the same technology or combining their efforts, everyone's doing the development on their own in hopes that that will change something in terms of capitalization, that the services company will become a technology company. And that's not easy. Britta, I think you went through the similar journey. You have already completed it using a mix of build and buy. And in your previous company, you've seen a lot of build, which ended up with replacing the custom technology with some of the market technology. So this is a journey of the German LSPs right now into technology. And I noticed that it's not on the top level yet, right? So a lot of development is duplicate. The tools are not there. The most popular system on the market for business management tool, and it doesn't offer a REST API, which is kind of thing that developers like these days to integrate. So people have been building REST API on top of Flunet independently from each other. There has been a development like this in Winners and EVF and so on. So very interesting how companies approach this, and perhaps there is a way to synergize and to pull up these efforts to create better software that everyone can use and transition to the next level of modernization. Right. So in terms of machine translation, we identified 3 groups. Machine translation is, of course, coming to every company, to the computer on every LSP next to you, on every TV screen. The big companies are very cautious with machine translation. They're kind of keeping them down. 10%, 20% of turnover in machine translation post-editing. Some of them are starting to build now machine translation teams to be more technologically advanced. You have disruptors like Lengu, who have banked everything on machine translation, post-editing, customization, integration, and so on. And these strategies are now beginning to pay off. And subcontractors, the third group, which do post-editing on a big scale because the clients, the professional LSPs, demand that. So despite having depot in Germany, there's a lot of space. The volume of post-editing in the total portfolio of all the companies is very, very small. So this is going to be a technological and a process transformation coming there. The study also has some insights into pricing, into the way the companies develop their sales team, accounting, some KPIs. Are they aggressive in terms of hiring salespeople or very conservative? So you can have a look at this yourself. But I'd like to finish my presentation with this for today and give as much time as possible for discussion, since we have many interesting people in the room, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Many thanks, Konstantin. This was indeed a very interesting presentation. I would like to congratulate you for this study. It's, frankly said, the first study of this kind that I've seen in Europe in the last few years, and it's probably something that we should also have on the other European markets. And I hope that in the future we can rely on you to supply some of this data to us.
I'm kind of transitioning from researcher to entrepreneur, so I think this chapter of my life, when I've done a lot of research on regional markets, is coming to a conclusion, and I want to move to the next step. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe someone else will take the banner. In the German market, before me, there was UEPO, the local Übersetzung portal, which was doing this detailed studies to some extent in the years 2010, 2013, somewhere around that time. So there was a gap in a few years without any research, and now finally there's some transparency. And I enjoy this very much because it's been kind of my mission in the industry to create transparency in specialized markets. But maybe the future will hold more active part of playing in to play in the industry. And finally, I wanted to say a huge thanks to Heike Leichhauser, who was the stakeholder at QSD and who was actually the driving force of that project. I was the hands, but she was the heart.
Okay, thanks, Konstantin. Britta, now over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So first of all, I would like to just start now the discussion and questions by giving you a few of my thoughts and observations. As very few words on my background. Originally, I am German, so I have a strong affinity to not only the language but also to Germany as such. But I have been living in the Nordics for many years now. But of course, closely following also the industry. So I would say the way I look at Germany today is from this deep understanding of also the culture and maybe the business culture. At the same time, I can also apply what happened in not only my business life and my company, but also look a little bit on Germany from the outside. As Arthur presented to us, we have a market where we at least believe, and especially maybe even driven by COVID now, the digitalization of the German market, the industry, might even accelerate. And I would say that especially in the Nordics, the digitization is compared to Germany at least quite far, and we have spent years on adapting to that. So when I look at the German market today, and really surprised about the fragmentation. So in the beginning of the QSD presentation, it says that you are 36 members who have a combined revenue about 90 million euro. Semantics, who I'm representing, has also 90 million euro in revenue. So it's quite a big split for that revenue that we're looking at for your member companies there. And what I also see, and this is maybe a little bit the provocative part I'm coming into, and it's not to be provocative, but at least some of the what I see in Germany is that we still talk about quality as being linguistic quality only. We see that most of the companies also represented in this study have the 17100 certification, for example. Very few have actually the IT secure the 2701 as one example. When I look at where we are at Semantics, I would say we would not even consider necessarily to renewing our 17100 because we believe that the MTP is much more relevant. I mean, it's much more relevant to go to the 18587 because MT is here and we don't question that anymore. And MT is also not only a matter of productivity or because customer request this. No, it's part of how we see our business models. So I would say that there are a lot of trends that we can see where I believe that, and this is the whole theme of this presentation, is something is going to happen. And now my question to you in the German market would be, who is going to disrupt that? Who is going to consolidate? And maybe also, who do you want to be consolidated by or disrupted by would be a question. And if you want to be in control of your own destiny, so to speak, I really believe that the move towards technology and also the move towards discussing what is quality also is extremely important. Then, of course, it's always a matter of balancing demand and supply. So it's not only a question of introducing technology and then you're digital. Of course, you also need to follow with your customer. But I do really believe that if you're not ready to take this approach now, it would be very, very difficult for you. And transformation takes time also in terms of business culture, in terms of operational excellence and so on. So a little bit of a question to you out there, who do you want to be disrupted by?
Okay, thank you, Rita. That was a very good introduction to a discussion now, which I'm now opening. So I would again encourage everybody to participate in this. I will now, although I was not planning to do this, I will now unmute everybody so that you will be able to talk directly. I think that would be much better than asking you to write. For the moment, nobody has written much. I see there is just one comment from Ilan Kernerman, who is asking, maybe this is a topic we can take maybe up front. How are sales in this industry divided between in and outside Germany? Is any of you able to respond to that question? I don't have it you're again. Why are you muted? I didn't mute you. Did you mute yourself? Sorry, I'm unmuting you. Just a second, Konstantin. Okay.
So the answer is mostly Germany, but there was no split question specifically to this. When we created the survey, we wanted to make it simpler because it's the first survey with QSD, and our objective was to draw more people in and to discover companies. Instead of asking them more questions, like, there's every year 50 questions, 60 questions from 3, 4, 5 different research organizations. And it's right now when you guys are being hit with the CSAs, with NIMSYs, with Slaters of the world, and everyone wants to know. So when we made this survey, we made it as simple as possible, more to engage the people and draw them. And we even had a conference afterwards with about 180 participants. So it was an interesting idea to have a regular German conference online during COVID. But we didn't ask a question about the split. However, from the interviews which I conducted in course of the project, most of this comes from the inside, right? It's the German automotive groups, it's the German software groups, which generate the manufacturing groups, not as much from abroad. So when people see Germany, they want to go in there. They don't want to escape from Germany and go to, I don't know, Portugal or Finland or Baltics. A German company selling in the Baltics, I don't think is possible, but a Baltic company selling in Germany, we have them here, right? Ladies and gentlemen from Tilde, hello. So mostly Germany. The same happens to the Chinese market, right? So China is a gigantic market, which is bound together by language and culture and the IT infrastructure. So the Chinese companies are mostly selling in China because they have their telecom providers that want to go to Africa, to Mongolia, whatever, the Belt and Road Initiative. And the same happens to the German companies. I hope that answers the question. Philip, so maybe you could invite some of the movers and shakers in this room to share their view, because we really have some industry leaders here.
Indeed. Well, indeed, I would invite everybody, and I did now unmute everybody. So as a matter of fact, that doesn't mean that you're all unmuted. You now have the possibility to unmute yourself.
Yeah, we only unmute Konstantin.
So anybody who would like now to participate in the discussion has the opportunity to do so. Unmute yourself and ask your questions directly. Do we have a first question from anybody? Not yet. So I will give you some time to think about it, and I will to start off maybe ask a couple of questions myself. Okay, we have seen from Konstantin's presentation that Germany is a market that is ready for transformation for all the reasons that he has given to us there. What do you, I mean, on the panel see, and also by the way in the audience, you can participate and also give your own views on that. What do you see as the main drivers for this transformation? Is it going to be technology? In which case, which technologies? Or is it going to be, market logics? What's happening also outside of Germany? Is Germany coming under pressure as being a market that is a bit too much lagging behind? etc. And then third question, but this was already actually taken up by some of you have asked this question, but we haven't yet heard an answer. And particularly Britta was pointing in this direction. Who will be the movers and shakers in Germany? Who is there? Who is going to actually disrupt this market?
Maybe I can take that. Can you hear me? Good.
Yes.
Well, looking at the culture that we have in the LSP business right now, talking about the founding partners before 2000, they are all linguists. They are not technology savvy. They are not so much into technology. The pressure comes from digitization, and most of them don't know how to react on that. This is a big problem because they are still big players. This is also the reason why they are still into quality and heaving up, saying we need quality, but the customers may say, well, we have so much things to communicate internationally. We cannot do that on a high quality level. We have to have MTPE, etc. So there's a big gap between the cultures, and this is also why so many disruptors right now take place and are, you named Lengu, for example, are getting very successful, and that's good. And also answering the question about who will disrupt or who will consolidate the market. I would love to see the market consolidating itself, like we see it, for example, from T-Works and some parts there doing into, merging their companies, etc. But also here we have a lot of individual founders, individual entrepreneurs that are not so much into merging. So I also see a problem there. So I would guess, and I wouldn't like to see it happen, but that it's an outside game, and this comes either from some PE groups to buy up all the things that need a successor, or also from one of the big outside people. So, for example, I expect DeepL to be sold to one of the big companies like Google or Apple or what you name it, and so this story will end, and the other LSP stories will have a similar end. I would say, unfortunately, right now.
Okay.
What do the colleagues say?
Yes, any further views on this question?
To follow up on that, Arthur, I also, I mean, when we talk about technology, at least the trend that we have been seeing is that, and that is not in contradiction to quality. I just want to broaden the quality concept, so to speak.
Right, thank you.
But it's much more than. The future is about managing multilingual content in a company. It's not only isolated to the quality of the linguistic text or output. So in that respect, technology is driving, because the requirements to actually efficiently managing multilingual content is increasing so much. So and MT is just one part of that. Actually, a small part of it, I would say.
Yes, we are on the same page there. I just want to make it a little, simpler, and but you're perfectly right.
From my point of view, it's money and old age, right? That will be the main factors for Germany. Technology is going to rock the industry everywhere, but people will transition from one generation of technology to the next generation of technology everywhere. It's not going to be specific to Germany. What's going to be specific in Germany is the size of opportunity and the fragmentation, and these things will be cured. I don't know if it's a disease or maybe it's a boon. I like to see a market which is very democratic. It doesn't have one single huge company. But look at the story of Accolade. why did Accolade become the biggest European company in like 3-4 years? Britta, how long did it take? Not that long, because they were very audacious. They paid for the acquisitions more than anyone else, and people accepted. And suddenly, Technisys was what? When I did my study in France, 2016, Technisys was 24 million. Now it's is it 300 in that provenance, right? Amazing growth, right? It's not even 5 years and it's 10x. So what can change this? Courage. It can be an investor who is more courageous than anyone else and who put in more money than anyone else to acquire those companies. So who will consolidate that market? The one who pays a higher multiple. That's my opinion. Please feel free to.
Yeah, yes and no, and that comes my little bit my own German pride into this, because I also believe that there is something else driving at least when you have a company in Germany. I mean, maybe naive to call it passion, but there is a real commitment to what you're doing, and this is one of the strengths. So it's not only about money. I don't believe so. I mean, there are other drivers in the business culture from in Germany, and we also see that from the customer side. I mean, the customers are extremely loyal. I mean, they also still work with fairly small providers and are not going to necessarily to the big ones. So I believe that there's a huge opportunity also maybe in Germany that the disruption could turn out a little bit different than, or the consolidation, that it's only about money, because otherwise I think maybe the big US companies would already have done it.
Hi everyone. Britta, I like your comment a lot, and I actually just discovered that you are German, so I understand from different perspectives. Just a comment to add. I believe that the German market will behave differently. Maybe I hope, but I really do believe it will behave differently, because of the cultural aspects, but also because of two concrete reasons. One is that I don't think that real consolidation will come from inside the market, but that the actual changes, mid-sized companies that are really growing and taking bigger chunks of the whole thing. This is what's happening in Germany and the potential. And then I wanted to bring up something else. Maybe it's more a question to you, Konstantin. I know that your numbers have already created a lot of attention, and the study has raised a lot of interest already, but I actually see the possibility that the spend in Germany is even higher than what you pointed out in proportion to the other countries, because I'm now thinking as well of the same study that has been done in the Netherlands. There's always an overlap with the Eurostat data between the LSPs who are registered as language service providers and their revenues, and then they actually hand on the projects to smaller LSPs or the freelancers. So there is a certain amount of double data in Eurostat volumes. And since in Germany there are less really large LSPs, and really, as you said, more small, mid-sized, and more freelancers actually, I think, not to shock anyone here, but I think the proportion, and I saw you already nodding, Konstantin.
Nancy, it's a familiar problem, but let's not discuss statistics. I can debate with you in a separate call for half an hour about this. But
yeah, it's not a problem at all. I actually just wanted to comment on you, Britta, that I'm really curious, and I do think that Germany will go a different way from France and the UK.
It is going a different way for now. Let's see how long it can continue.
Yes.
Yeah, I think what you're hinting at, also, Konstantin, how long can it? I mean, stay away from maybe money and age, as you said. But I also believe that there's a huge opportunity, a golden opportunity for the German market and also especially the language technology providers, disruptors, because I would say from my perspective, we have been struggling with even selling terminology, let's say that, for many, many years. And it's a difficult thing to sell to your customers. But in Germany, you can do that because they really understand data. So I think there's a golden opportunity also when you look at the requirements for security, data security, and couple that with a very sound strategy about AI and MT, that there's something here that could be really special. So I also have a little hope that the technology in Germany will actually, maybe for the good of the whole industry, spin off something really nice.
Britta, you're totally right about Germany and terminology. This is the place where I don't know if it's the only place, but this is definitely the place where terminology is very, very important. So many terminology systems came to market in the last few years. There's been a new version of iMatch, there's been Lexery, there's been a few other developments. Transline rolled something on the market. So I think 5 or 6 systems coming on the market, and despite of these systems being developed, companies like SAP create new developments in-house for their own terminology systems. So it's not only the place to sell terminology solutions, it's also the place where all the terminology solutions are made, or maybe half of them.
Indeed, and as we all know, machine translation is about data. It's not about the machine.
Do we have any of the owners of the bigger companies from Switzerland? Maybe Patrick would like to say something. Maybe Holman could provide some closing remarks, because I think we're approaching the end of the hour. Philip, if I'm correct. I'm really interested in hearing your opinion.
Okay. Is there any further? Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Konstantin. Hi, Britta.
Hi,
nice to meet you again. Maybe 2 sentences from me. In my opinion, the problem with the German market, I mean, we tried to build a group last 1-2 years, and it wasn't easy to get the older generation of my industry into the same boat, because I think they earn they're earning money, and they are successful, and this is sometimes a problem, because if you are a young founder and you have a vision to create the largest group, maybe the smart link for Europe, which was our vision the last 2 years, it's not easy to get these founders on your side. And I hoped that COVID would push this idea to get more together and to build a successful group. But it is not easy, as you say, and I don't know, maybe we need a disruptor which comes from outside the market, from other country, a German accolade, or I don't know, a PE which has the view on this market, and but it wasn't easy. So from my opinion, from this market, from talking to hundreds of founders in Switzerland and Germany, I would say 80 or 90% say, I feel fine with my company, and I don't see the vision to go with others, or even the trust to work with a private equity. I think this is something cultural in Germany, because you don't take the money from other people. You have your own business, and so yeah, my opinion, 2 cents on this question. And on the technology side, I mean, why shouldn't you earn money with terminology if your customers pay it? We developed Lexery 2 years ago, and last year, 2020, we sold around 50,000 just to software, and we are not a software company. So, you know, this is for us the beginning. We have no sales guy. We just pitched it to the same customers we have, and our goal is for this year 500,000 in software revenues. So why shouldn't we do that? And I'm not so, I don't have this critical view on terminology or why do they use. I think terminology is a really perfect fit to MT results, because yes, DeepL does a great job, but if you are very picky and you are very sensitive because of terminology, if you look at all those medical companies coming from Germany, from pharmaceutical companies coming from Germany, terminology is still very important for them. Philips Medical has around 95,000 terminologies in their database. So I think this is the German engineering which we can bring to the world. So I think if we get PE power from outside and we bring our engineering to the rest of the world, it would be the perfect match. And today, I agree with you, it doesn't connect to each other. I don't know why. And as a young founder, I'm not young, I'm 42, but depending on some guys who have founded the company 20 years ago, I'm a little bit frustrated to be in this market, and hope, of course, to find partners that can disrupt it together with us.
Thank you very much. I think this is a very interesting point of view that you expressed here. So from my perspective, looking at it a little bit from the outside and with my European hat on, I have the sense that the German market is relatively complacent. If you look at it and you compare what's happening in this branch to what's going on in other, or has been going on in other branches, more traditional IT industries or digital content as such, also see that well, Germany seems to have been missing boats. On the one hand, you have a tradition of German engineering that is really fantastic and has been taking over many industries, and where you have not only large companies but also medium-sized companies that are very, very strong and very active. But for some reason in IT and digital, everything that's linked to the digital phenomenon, Germany seems to have lost the boat or missed the boat somehow, and is in danger of missing the remaining boats. Some of you have been saying that, okay, transformation, consolidation, we wait for it coming from the outside. We don't see it happening so much driven by the inside. Others have been saying, well, things will be different in Germany. I'm afraid not, if you compare it to what's going on in IT in general. No, in due course, IT will be coming to Germany, has been coming to Germany, but to a large extent has been delivered by outside players into the German market. And at the end of the day, what one sees is that, okay, the last resort that you still have then is step on the brake, put in legislation like GDPR, etc., this type of stuff to slow down the GAFA. Now the GAFA platforms are now in this position. It is a little bit puzzling me to see that, as I said, on the one hand, you have a tradition of Germany taking the lead in a number of heavily engineered domains. And here in this field, in IT, a certain complacency, a certain, even beyond complacency, a certain absence even of visibility of where actually are we going, where do we want to go? Well, so these are my sense.
The Germans have a strong relationship to the world of ideas. They don't have a strong relationship to the world of visions or being visionary. There's even a German saying that says, if you have visions, go to the doctor. And this obviously is a problem if you're really thinking about something which is bigger than the things that you could achieve only by ideas. And this, you know, ideas run engineers run ideas, and visionaries run bigger ideas if it comes to corporate consolidation, etc., etc. But we will see that.
Yeah,
what happens.
So maybe when I ask my question, who do you want to be consolidated by? Maybe it should be a friendly Nordic company instead. So let's see.
Good idea.
Indeed. Okay, we're now 6 o'clock, so basically the time's over. Unfortunately, I think the subject would have been worthwhile being explored much more in depth, and I think some of the participants hopefully if we had a bit more time, would have progressively come in. I will thank everybody for participating. I hope that very soon we will have again the opportunity to organize physical meetings that will also last a bit longer, that we will again see each other physically, and that we will be able to come back to these topics together around the table again in the coming months. But in the short term, this is what we can do. And so, having said that, and on these relatively not too optimistic words, so one says that one should also always be optimistic, but my takeaway from is not overly optimistic as far as the German market is concerned. So on these words, I will thank again Arthur, Britta, and Konstantin for participating in this, and everybody else for contributing. Thank you very much, and goodbye. See you soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all the audience. Thank you. Bye.